Probably. Okay. Can people hear me? I really hope so.
I think it just started. All right, we're trying this again.
Third time's a charm. Is anyone?
All right, is anybody with us?
It seems like we might have one person. Sorry for all the rigmarole.
I don't know what I did, and I'll claim responsibility on that one.
That's okay. We're here now. Hopefully other people are as well. Oh, maybe, potentially.
Okay, we're jumping over. Thank you.
Yes. Let us know if you can hear us. That's what we were having issues with before. So we're just going to give people a second to reorient themselves as we changed a lot of links there. Okay. I don't think, is this one in our chat?
I think they went.
Yep. Okay, great.
Right.
You can hear us.
Awesome.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second live stream for the Glove Lab. We are very excited to be doing this one. This is we're chatting all about disposable gloves. And again, I think we might wait for more people, but I'm sure people will trickle in. It's okay. Okay, so our goal is to make this a casual and, kind of laid back conversation about gloves to make the whole world a little bit more approachable. Ask your questions in the chat anytime and we'll get through them. We can get through them in the end, but we can also sprinkle them in. And make sure you click subscribe. This Glove Lab live stream is all about the durability, safety. It's just Gloves 101, how to read a spec sheet. Okay.
Yes. So all of the basics, but also kind of the fundamentals and the things you need to know when purchasing gloves, selecting gloves. All right. So let's start off with who we are. I'm Sarah. I'm the one that screwed the live stream earlier, and I struggle with technology. Apparently, I forgot a microphone. So, but I'm Sarah. This is Ashley.
Hi.
She would be the one that responds to you on social media. So If you interact with us at all, you're probably talking to Ashley. And we are Eagle Protect. We're the world's first B Corp for disposable gloves and clothing, which we're very proud of that we started. Mm-hmm. Since 2012, we just received our 5th certification, which is really exciting. And basically, if you sum it up, what it means is that we're trying to do disposable gloves as good as we can from start to finish, from manufacturing to use to disposal.
Right.
Everybody involved, try to have the healthiest gloves, the best gloves, and just raise the standard a little bit. And to do that, we developed Delta Zero, which is our proprietary glove testing program. Super cool. If you want to know about that, ask us, or we have a video if you'd prefer, like I did, to watch. I prefer to watch versus talk to people. We have that option too.
Yes. So last time we were here, we asked everyone where you're from. We're going to change it up, and it's favorite taco. So Sarah, you're first.
Okay, first, tacos, like the food of the gods, honestly. But I gotta say, a good fish taco, non-battered. I like a good grilled fish taco.
Interesting.
But
okay.
a bad fish taco is a pretty nasty taco. So otherwise, I'd go more of like a carne asada probably. But if it's a good fish taco, you can't beat it.
Wait, what's wrong with a battered fish taco?
A bad fish taco.
Oh, not
like if
battered.
There's no flavor, if it's smushy or. I don't like it battered and deep fried though. I want it fried. I want to taste the fish. I don't want to taste the fry. The battered.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Well, hot take. I love a battered fish taco. So yeah, I would have to say fish tacos as well.
Yeah, like a fish taco is hard to beat. But there's more bad fish tacos. But I agree,
there are bad fish tacos.
I think there's more bad fish tacos than good fish tacos. But when you hit a good one,
it's great. It's really, really
game
good.
changer.
Okay, well, if anyone here would like to share their taco preference, please. I know that doesn't seem like it relates to gloves, but
it does. They made them with gloves.
This is community building. So, okay. So understanding glove specs. Also, first of all, we just have to be really supportive of Sarah's graphics
Like
No.
next time we'll have intro music.
Okay, so we're calling this essentially Disposable Gloves 101. And Sarah, you can take it away.
Yeah, so today we're going to talk about a few different things. Put my pen down because I click it. I'm sorry. We're going to talk a few different things that you'll see on a spec sheet, and you may or may not know what they are, what they're for, which ones are applicable or appropriate for you.
Mm-hmm.
Things like thickness, color, texture, chemical resistance, the AQL, what is that? Who knows? Tensile strength, elongation. Some of those things that are on most spec sheets that you're going to see, but sometimes the words, you're not exactly sure what it indicates and what you're getting. So
yeah.
Trying to clear up the mud a little bit with the glove lingo.
Okay, so we're getting right to it again with Sarah's amazing.
I just want you to know our production budget has gone up. So we're going to start with thickness. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, so thickness of a glove, what is it? This one is a little bit tricky, but it's also probably the simplest. The thickness of the glove is how thick the glove is. But what does that mean? Why do I care? So on our spec sheets, we have the thickness of a glove. It's measured in mils. And how we do that is we take a measurement from the end of the fingertip, from the palm, and from the cuff, and then you have an average. So you can also see the weight of a glove, and that's the gram of a glove. But traditionally, people talk about the thickness of a glove.
Right.
So they're going to want a 3 mil glove or a 6 mil glove or something. That's kind of how it's usually talked about. But the thickness sometimes means quality. The thicker the glove can mean that it increases the strength and durability of the glove. From our first live stream, we went over this. Actually, the quality of the ingredients is more important for durability.
Right.
But if it's a quality glove made with good ingredients, then the thickness will indicate a little bit of the durability. If you just want a standard glove, and let's say you go to the dentist or the doctor or something, so you kind of think that traditional nitrile glove, you're probably talking about a 4 mil glove, if that helps to gauge kind of middle of the road. 3 or 4, typically I would probably guess 4 is a little bit more standard. With the quality of ingredients, sometimes with our glove, you can actually go down to the 2.6 or 3 because of the strength of the glove.
Right.
So that's where with thickness, it is dependent on the quality of the materials.
And then with that as well, you save more material going down to a thinner glove.
Yeah.
So that
it's cheaper,
another plus.
And you throw away less material, so it's more sustainable.
Right.
Yay. Woohoo. Save a turtle.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions about that one? I don't know if you do, but we can move on and we can go to our
next one.
Acceptable quality level of a glove. No.
The texture?
The texture. Let's go there first.
Let's talk about the texture of the glove. Okay, so the texture of the glove, as you can probably guess, determines, it helps with the grip. So you think on the bottom of your shoe, there's the sole of your shoe and there's different grips and they do different things.
Right.
And so it's very similar with gloves. Gloves have textures in different spots. Sometimes they're on the fingertip, sometimes they're on the entire glove, sometimes they're just on the palm.
Right.
And in general, the intent of that glove is going to be textured where it's going to be used. So if you have a glove, let's say that's used for cutting asparagus or something like really detailed and you have like that, you need that dexterity, you probably have a textured fingertip.
You know, the dexterity you need for
asparagus. Exactly. I don't know why I said asparagus. Okay, so I'm going to try to see. I don't know if you're going to be able to see on the edge of this glove. It is just slightly textured. It's not super visible, but it is a little bit textured. It is going to help a little bit with the grip. So on our thinner gloves, we tend to have textured fingertips because what you're doing is something that you're using your fingertips for. But as you go up in thickness with our gloves especially, the texture changes a little bit and it becomes a little bit more noticeable, a little bit more intense, a little bit more grippy, if you will.
Yeah.
And Ashley, if you can show yours, she has the Visible, which is a 6 mil glove. And this has a little bit more texture and it's all over the entire glove. So that's going to give a little bit more grip, a little bit more when you're, I'd say when you're holding something. So let's say if you are working with a frozen product, like, or meat or something that could be greasy, or you're cleaning drains or something wet. There's certain times when, especially you're holding a wet item and a knife, you want to be really sure that you have a good grip on what you're doing. And so that's where texture really makes a difference. And this one I know you're going to be able to see because first of all, it's the coolest glove we have. So this one is called our diamond texture glove. And if you look, this one has a lot more texture on it.
Mhm.
So this one is going to have texture all over the glove, and it's really intense all over the palm. So the diamond grip on there, this is going to be our grippiest glove, if that's a word we can use. So that's a technical term.
I like it.
A technical term. We're going to start using our grippiness level. So what people would use that for is a little bit more in like with oils or frozen foods or something wet, something slimy, where you just need a little bit more grip. The one thing I will say about texture is that the last two gloves that we showed you were both 6 mil gloves. Your Visible has a little less texture.
Mhm.
It's actually going to be a little bit cheaper glove because it is a slightly more expensive to make my glove that I showed with the diamond texture.
Right.
And just because of that, you're going to get the same thickness of a glove, but the texture could affect cost. So that might be something to weigh in there.
Well, perfect. Thank you for explaining texture, not
Yes.
AQL yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one is glove color. And as you know, it's always best to just pick your favorite color, right?
Yes, you get something that matches your outfit, right? Well, sometimes. Let's say sometimes. So if you know exactly what glove you need, let's say I need a 4 mil glove. I'm using 1 glove. I know exactly what it is. It's perfect. If color doesn't matter, pick the glove you need that matches the specs. And if you want to match your logo or you want to match the outfit your staff is wearing, totally fine. So color does not actually matter per se, but we are seeing a trend in food processing, which is most of our customers.
Mhm.
They're going to use gloves actually as part of their food safety system, and they're having it incorporated as a visual element in their food safety system. So it's usually by department. So I'm trying to think of an example here. So let's say on the processing line, we're using blue gloves. And then I know everybody on the processing line is using blue gloves. And then somebody touching raw meat is using green gloves. And my sanitation team is wearing black gloves.
Right.
So there's 3 different departments. I definitely don't want people cleaning my drains, touching my production line.
Right.
So from a manager's perspective, it's a really quick visual that I know nobody with black gloves should be touching my production line.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the same time, if you're on the production line, you shouldn't be touching the raw meat. And there could be a cross-contamination issue. So this is a quick visual that sometimes helps managers kind of keep track of everybody in their station and what they should be doing and mitigating that cross-contamination. There's another perspective from the quality assurance team. If, for instance, a glove would rip, which should not happen, if you're using the right glove and it's a good glove, you can view our last live stream for that one.
Yeah, I can put that.
Do you have the link for that one?
Potentially in the, let me know if we.
Where it's a great one. So,
here.
All right, so we'll put the link in there and you can watch it. And we go over the ways to keep a disposable glove from ripping in the first place, which is ideal.
Right.
But when it comes down to the colors, the quality team, if one would rip and it gets in the food, if I have a black chunk of glove in the food, I know that something broke down with my sanitation team.
Right.
And then I can go there, reevaluate the gloves we're doing, the processes we have, and that kind of thing. So it really, the root cause analysis, it shortens up the time of that a lot.
And do you find that there is like a standardized color system that people are using, or is it kind of by choice?
That's a great question. We haven't seen anything be totally standardized. It's usually within their food safety. In general, the only trend I think I kind of have been seeing is that they need to make sure that the glove is contrasting to either the equipment or the food being handled.
Oh, good.
So I have seen a production facility where they had a blue conveyor belt, and that's what the meat came in on. So the team had to use green gloves because if a blue glove ripped on the blue conveyor belt, it's just harder to see. So what colors you use where is kind of up to you and how your team works, what the suppliers have available, that kind of thing. But in general, just make sure it's a contrasting color.
Okay, good to know. Okay, so if anyone wants to check out our last live stream, I put it in the chat. But next on the list is, do you have our little arrow?
Oh, here it is.
Chemical resistance.
The scary one.
I know.
So chemical resistance, I'm sure everyone can kind of understand why this one's pretty important. So there are some pretty gnarly chemicals out there, and gloves can protect you from them, which is the goal of them. But sometimes that's a little hard when you're looking for a glove to know it's going to work with the chemical you're using. So how do you do that? In general, a supplier is going to have a chemical resistance chart And then, so if you have one, if you see ours, has all the gloves on the top, and then there's chemicals down the side that they've been tested for.
Right.
And then they'll show how they react to it. Because some gloves do degrade when they come in contact with different chemicals, and some work just fine. Some will work up to an hour. So there's different kind of ratings and reactions that you can get from the gloves. It depends on the recipe and how the glove is made. So every nitrile glove is not the same.
Right.
It depends on the glove, how it's made, to what that resistance level is. For us, on our chart, all of the chemicals that we list are what those gloves have been tested for. Mm-hmm. So if they've been tested, there's a result there. There's a billion chemicals in the world. So there's no way that we can test for all of these different chemicals. So if that you were specifically using, you could ask the supplier, and perhaps maybe they have it and they would know. Otherwise, what we recommend is that if you get some gloves, to test it out, put it on the table with nobody's hand in it, no skin underneath,
right.
Put the chemical on it, and then see what the reaction is. Because there is a difference in chemical strength, how long the chemical is actually touching the glove. Is it really quick and intermittent, or is it just soaking in the chemical? There's a lot of different factors where this is a little bit where you have to do your due diligence on your part.
Right. And I think we got a question on social about that, so we can come back to that later too, but I think you covered it pretty well.
Good. All right.
Okay. So now we're going to the one I jumped the gun on. AQL.
All right, so the acceptable quality level, this one is, this one is, it's fantastic. It's one of the better ones to know the better the quality of the glove. To know the quality of the glove, it's a bit of an indicator of that. What it really indicates is the pinhole defects in a glove. So a pinhole defect it could be microscopic. You may not even see it. But if there's a little tiny hole in my glove, bacteria can still get through it. So if I'm making food, that could be a really big deal.
Right.
So what the AQL is, just to give you kind of a gauge of that, it's let's say ours are all 1.5. That's the way to start. So all of our nitrile gloves are 1.5. Medical gloves are required to be 2.5. So ours are better than that. So it's 1.5. What that means for a 1.5 is that when they're manufacturing, there's a range of acceptable pinhole defects.
Right.
And so for every 1,000 gloves produced, 15 can have a pinhole defect, and then it has an AQL of 1.5.
Okay.
So the 2.5 would be 25 gloves for every 1,000. So you can see the lower the AQL kind of indicates a better quality glove.
Okay.
So that's kind of a way to help gauge a little bit what the quality is. But then I will also put out there, the one caveat is that medical gloves are required to list their AQL. Food grade gloves are not.
Which is so interesting.
Yes. Yes. So we think it should be. We list the AQL of all of our gloves. If the AQL of a glove on a spec sheet is not listed, even if you're using it for food, we just kind of suggest that you keep moving on and don't use that glove.
Right.
So it's one where if they're not going to test it, if they're not going to show, we just feel like it's probably towards the lower end. You're probably getting a lower quality glove. It's an easy thing to do. They should test it.
Should be there.
Yes.
Okay, so this is our final point to go over. If you can read it.
Yeah, so the tensile strength and elongation, like what the hell, you know? So these ones actually are a little bit confusing for me. Sometimes I get them a little bit switched up because they're quite similar.
Right.
So what the tensile strength is it measures the maximum stress. Okay, this is not how they do the test. They actually have a machine for this, but I just want to give you the visual. So when they stretch the glove, the tensile strength is the force taking to stretch the glove then make it to failure. So it breaks. The amount of force that it takes to break the glove when you stretch it.
Force being keyword.
Yes. So I believe it's in pascals or something smart. Yeah. And then the elongation is how far it'll stretch before it breaks. So they are quite similar, where they're stretching the glove until it breaks, but one is the force required to break it, and then one is like how far it stretches till it breaks. When it comes to elongation, in general, the higher the number is going to indicate something that's a little bit more flexible and probably more comfortable, if you want to relate that to something that would matter on the job.
Right. I didn't know that difference before this, so we did talk about this prior to this live stream, and I found that very interesting. So that is all that we have in terms of our, pre-planned points. We want to hear from you, so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. If not, we have some other questions that we got on social media that I can ask Sarah.
Ooh.
Oh, it looks like we got one here.
Yeah,
so
we're not doing any hard ones today. Don't do the hard ones.
Yeah. Okay. Are there ways to test the strength and durability of gloves at home or on site?
Ooh, the strength. Okay, so that's a great question because very few people I know are going to have glove stretching machines that would be able to do this.
Yeah.
And so there are times when you're looking at the quality of the glove, it's hard to know the quality of the glove. And if you ask the supplier, a lot of them just say, yes. Oh yeah, we test our gloves. Oh yeah, we do this. And so you kind of have to take them at their word because there's no ingredient list on the box. There's no it's a little weird where there's a lot of trust when you open the box that what's inside is what you need. For strength and durability, I think what I would recommend is, I flipped my glove inside out. So
I think we have a video on this too. Here, let me try to link it.
We'll get the video. So in the meantime, if you did put a glove on, for strength and durability, if you try the gloves on, you can kind of feel a little bit of the difference. If you wanted to stretch the end of the fingertip, and you can stretch that there in the palm and in the cuff, you can stretch and you should be able to really pull on it. A lot of gloves, if the cuff will break off, is where we see a lot of failure when people do use gloves. So if you're putting on a glove and the cuff is breaking off, you can't even put on the glove. It's a crap glove.
Right. Yeah.
So there is a little bit of just like the pulling and stretching. You can kind of tell the difference if you try in one glove to the next glove. The other thing you can do is, we call it an inflation test. And I believe, is this the link that you put?
I put the inflation test link.
So super fun. You make a turkey. Okay, so you make a little turkey and you spin it over, and you're going to be able to see if there's swirly ingredients in there. It should be smooth, uniform, and just nice and all one material. If there are swirls in there, it can be like chemicals and chalk, and you can see kind of sometimes when there's some shitty ingredients in there.
Yeah.
It's not 100%, but it's a really good, quick way to kind of gauge what you're looking at.
That was a great question. Thank you. Okay, so if we don't have any more in the chat, I hope that answered your question. Okay, so how does the storage environment impact glove quality? Are there best practices for keeping gloves effective, I guess, for longer?
Ooh, well, thank you, Justine. Great question. The storage of gloves, storage of gloves can make a difference. In general, gloves are supposed to be stored in you don't want them to be in a super hot environment. You don't want them to be in direct sunlight. High humidity can be hard on them. So we say that they're good for 5 years from the date of manufacture, but if they are stored in an environment that does increase the aging of the gloves, or accelerates is a better word, accelerates the aging of the glove, it can affect the quality of the glove. So yes, how you store them and where you store them does make a difference. And we recommend it not be in a metal warehouse in the middle of Texas. Yeah. So unless it's climate controlled, that kind of a thing. So you just want to, and we did cover that in the last live stream as well, a little bit further.
Yeah.
If I didn't answer your question, let me know.
As well. And the link is there. So if you want to take a peek, go for it. Okay. Are there any, we kind of went over this actually, but this was a question we got. Hopefully this question was answered a little bit. Okay. Are there any certifications or labels we should look for when purchasing gloves for food handling? So I know you kind of covered the,
this one, the AQL is there for a measurement test of it. This one is so hard. And when it comes to food handling gloves, okay, first let's talk medical gloves, because there is a little bit of the difference when it's like the food compliant gloves and then the medical or the exam grade gloves. The exam grade gloves do go through more testing than food grade gloves. So if we're talking food grade gloves, which is the majority of our customers and who we talk to, the industry makes this really hard for you. I'm not going to lie. They make it really hard. There's not really a standard across the board testing system, or what happens is the factory sends a list of ingredients and the FDA goes, yep, those are the right ingredients. And then they do a chemical migration test. And so once that's passed, they say, nice job, here's your certificate, go make some gloves.
Right.
And then they make gloves, send them over, we buy them, we use them. As long as nothing changes, it's never checked again. So nobody verifies when the gloves are getting shipped over here that nothing has been changed. We're still using the same things. It's once you pass that and you get compliance. So they didn't test it to be compliant. It's like you're matching their rules, compliance. And then they can ship the gloves over here and we use them and no one ever checks again, which we think is pretty dirty. I don't know if dirty is the right word, but it just seems like there's a lot of trust built in. And our food system I feel like our food companies are held to quite high standards when it comes to expected food safety.
Yeah.
And the glove industry is not there yet. We are not held to that standard. And we didn't think that was right. So shameless plug. We invented our Delta Zero glove testing program with a microbiologist. And so somebody much smarter than us invented this, and we're getting it patented. So there's a range of our gloves when they come over. We test them. It's a multi-level test. We test it for the ingredients, for the strength, for the cleanliness, for the dermal compatibility to make sure you're not breaking out from things, from the microbial level. We just do a series of tests to make sure they're not changing any ingredients. So if something comes over, it would flag before people are using our gloves.
Right.
And then we would catch it to make sure that our gloves are not going to be contaminating the food that it's touching, because all of our food that we eat has been touched by gloves. And some of those gloves can be very dirty, which we have some pretty
not good,
gnarly information about that if you guys want to dive into that.
If you want to know, we can tell you.
We can ruin any of your good restaurants, any of them.
Yeah, does that affect you eating out at all? Like with this knowledge? To me, it doesn't, unfortunately. I think it should, but it hasn't yet.
I gotta say, it gets to a point where you have to get over it. But there are sometimes when you walk in and they're using a vinyl glove, and let's say they're like in an assembly line, they're using a vinyl glove, and it's like there's some like endocrine disrupting, like hormone disrupting chemicals in there, and you're like, thanks for the added topping on my tacos.
Right.
Kind of a thing. So in general, if it's a nitrile glove, I like to think that they made good decisions and have faith in people. But there are some things like vinyl gloves still bug me just because of the chemicals they do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe it should affect me a little bit more. Okay. Well, I think that those were all the questions that we had. If there's anything else from the chat, which I don't think there are, but thank you so much for joining us. We aim to do this once a month. So next month we have another live stream on December 11th, which is going to be all about glove, quote unquote, trauma. There's a lot that can happen in the industry in terms of sourcing, buying, and a lot of people run into some issues. So we're going to talk about
consistency, getting different gloves. There's a lot of frustration that can go into just buying a glove, which also seems like it should be a very simple process.
Yes. So we're gonna chat about that. But make sure that you hit subscribe and let us know if you have any topic that you want us to go over. We can do that in the new year. And again, thank you so much for joining us for the Glove Lab, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, everyone.